For many of us in the U.S., it can be hard to understand or connect to what's happening in Ukraine unless you've seen it with your own eyes. One mom here in Maine has dedicated years of her life to helping Ukrainian orphans. Now she's opening up to us about how it feels to her and the kids she's helped to watch the country go to war.
So that was when our life changed, and it's been all about our kids ever since, really.
The Stearman family is now settled in Brunswick. Gina, the mom, spent the last 7 years welcoming Ukrainian orphans into their home.
Many of them are available for adoption, some aren't. The ones who do not have that family member or nana or whatever to go home to are stuck in the orphanage all summer and during Christmas breaks. This is the first picture I saw of them.
She hosted Sasha and her brother German over 3 summers and 2 winters, waiting for them to be up for adoption.
This was her. She's been in the orphanage since she was 4.
She even visited them in Ukraine in between stays.
Because I wanted them to have that consistency, like mama's coming for you, it's gonna take a while. It takes a long time to get the paperwork. Our dossier was ridiculous. And they literally grew up in our house.
They truly became part of the family until Sasha said she didn't want to be adopted, ruining her brother's chance at joining Gina's family.
I cried for 3 days in the apartment. I just was like, but I told myself and my husband, we had an agreement, I am not gonna drag 2 teenagers here who don't wanna be here. And so we said, well, we started on this journey, there's gotta be kids for us somewhere.
Another missed connection with a different set of siblings, and Gina was on her last chance to adopt. That same friend called again, connecting her with Sergey.
This was the first time we met.
He stayed for Christmas until Gina presented Sergey with this.
I said, hey, Sergey, so we're wanting to adopt you if you would like that.
Sergey said yes.
This was in April of 2019 after court when he became our son. Oh, it was just like all those years, and it was finally, I knew why I had gone through everything was for this moment.
Filling a hole in Gina's heart.
He does not realize how much he healed me. He's my gift.
And now, realizing that thousands of kids, just like Sergey, including his siblings, are under attack.
It's hard to watch my kid, every morning, how are your friends? Are they still alive? This country is suffering because of us trying. You can't negotiate with an abuser. You can't. The abusive ex, it's like, you get rid of me, you die. And I'm watching him do it. Sasha just messaged me.
All the while staying in contact with Sasha and German, whom Gina still calls her kids. They are still in Ukraine.
Mom, everything's bombing where I am. I'm very afraid.
She still calls you mom?
Yep. Still calls me mom. Pieces of our heart are over there.
Wow. So Sergey did not want to do an interview, but Gina's daughter Abby told me that hosting these orphans has given them a huge appreciation for how privileged we all are in the U.S.
Of course. So let's put this into perspective. I think this conflict aside, what conditions are these orphans living in?
So I can tell you what Gina told me. And Gina told me that some of those orphanages, they're cold, they're dark, and despite the love that all these caretakers have for the kids that are there, that it can be a tough place for these kids to live. Now, if you look at the website called consideringadoption.com, most of these orphans are older. They're like teenagers because many of those younger kids get picked for adoption first. Gina also told us that there's a lot of competition between families and those people who help place the kids with those families, and those people are trying to get more money for the adoption placements.
So I think a lot of people have the question, is there anything Mainers can do to help support the people in Ukraine right now?
So there is, and it involves money. Gina told me that the US dollar actually goes really far in Ukraine. One thing that she told me from what she's seen is that many of the orphans are malnourished. She said that Sasha and German came to her at 10 and 13 years old at 50 and 70 pounds, respectively. There's not a lot of resources over there, overcrowding in the shelter. She even told me one story about how they cut up like 50 apples and oranges, and the kids went ecstatic because they can't afford apples and oranges. So people here can help families in the US, like fellow families, either pay to host, like Gina does, or adopt in general, or they can help these families finance a trip over to the Ukraine to help some of these kids out. It's a long process to adopt these kids, like months and months and months, and it is costly.
Yeah. All right.